Insights of All Trades podcast.
What do you think of the Save the Bees movement that's going on? Is there a big problem with bees right now? Are they really dwindling? And
Well,
what can we do about it?
So we've heard kind of these dire predictions. It's the last dance of the honeybee, right?
Mm-hmm.
And without honeybees, which we're dependent on for a lot of pollination,
Absolutely.
this again really came to a head probably 5 years ago or so.
Okay.
I would say, and it's basically colony collapse disorder. CCD is kind of this kind of run-of-the-mill term that not only apiculturalists, so bee scientists, but also kind of the public at large has kind of pounced on.
So what is CCD?
So CCD is, from what I've read, really kind of it has a multifactorial causation. So a lot of things are responsible for this. But the gist of it is that bees kind of leave their hives and they just abscond. They don't come back. So just these numbers would precipitously decline. And the question is, well, is there something environmental?
Yeah.
Is there a parasite? Is it something humans are influencing that's just leading to these mass kind of defections of sort? And I'm not an apiculturist by any stretch. You should talk to my buddy Kurt Langberg, who's also here, one of the other entomologists.
Yeah.
But he deals with honeybee kind of physiology. So he'd be a great person to ask about that. But the bottom line is, it was suggested by the environmentalist community that a specific class of insecticides was the sole cause of this. And they're called neonicotinoids, or neonics for short. Basically, it's a synthetic nicotine analog. It's human-made nicotine with some chemical changes, of course. But it had great activity against pest insects. And the thought was that, well, the honeybees are kind of collateral damage in this. If you look at the data, though, it's really hard to justify that being the cause. It's really multifactorial. There's a virus that has been implicated in CCD, at least in part. And again, it's kind of hard to tease out the relative contributions of everything in aggregate. Israeli acute paralysis virus was implicated. There's a varroa mite that basically kind of takes over hives and feeds on the young. There's a tracheal mite, which literally gets in their trachea. You could see it walking around. It's rather interesting. So that, a couple parasite prospects. People have really gone out in left field saying, oh my God, it's electromagnetic radiation from cell phones. That's totally nonsense.
Okay,
But my read on the situation is that, again, it's multiple causations, and it's probably not really at all linked to these neonicotinoid insecticides. If you use an insecticide as per the label, you should not have these issues.
Okay. So as far as what we can do, just, don't kill honeybees when you see them.
If you know that your neighbor has hives close, just kind of coordinate with him or her and say, look, I need to do a spray.
Sure.
Can you time the spray to not coincide with their active flight time of the day? It's just common sense. Being a good neighbor.
Yeah.
Planting wildflowers as well, just pollination sources, make your area more enticing for honeybees. Just anything you could do to help them out. And that there's the state of Virginia, I should say, has a program now. I think it's, what did they allocate, like $500,000 or $250,000 to actually supply people with, on a first-come, first-served basis, with honeybee hives.
Oh, wow.
To try and boost these numbers.
That's pretty cool.
And they've been rebounding of late.
Okay, yeah.
Even in the absence of an outright ban on like these neonicotinoid insecticides, they've been rebounding. So it might be some other, factor in the environment unbeknownst to us. Species kind of undulate, right, in terms of their numbers. So we might have just happened to have been in a little bit of a depression, so to speak.
Sure.
But now they're on the upswing again.
Yeah. Very cool. And I think what you said, being a good neighbor, that kind of applies to everything. Not
Be a
just
good
bees.
steward
Yeah.
in general. And that's what farmers are. That's what homeowners, I think, aspire to be as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.